After I spent $1 million on events and doing events, I decided that it'd be better for me to sink another $1 million into my own event studio. So we did. And what's been funny is we've been using that stage to actually go launch authors. The average book only sells about 250 to almost 1,000 copies. So authors don't make any money. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys more about how we're using Stage to actually make authors rich. So I'm going to tell you guys something, I call it a stage book. And it's a new thing that I think we could all take advantage of. Do you guys know who Roger Love is? Yeah.
Voice guy.
Yeah. So he's the voice guy, right? So, and he's the voice guy of Hollywood. So he basically is the voice coach of all Hollywood. And whether or not they're singing something or speaking something, he's the one that teaches them how to give good diction on camera. And so they like my stuff, I guess. Back in like 2018 or 19, they hired me to come out for a day. And they're like, we want to sell more of his stuff. And so I said, cool, send over the funnel. And they sent over this link. They're like, we want you to improve this funnel. I was like, all right. So they sent it over to me. And I'm looking at it and I was like, no, ask for the funnel. And he's like, yeah, we sent you over the funnel. Now, first off, why is this not a funnel? More than one option to exit the page, right? Immediately, this is a website, not a funnel, right? Funnels have one way to progress forward, and that's it. And so it's funny because back and forth, I was like, no, send over the funnel. Like, we did. And like, okay, we send it over again. Maybe I just misplaced. They kept sending me this link. I was like, that's why you guys are struggling so much. You guys want to know a good statistical conversion rate of a website? 3%. You're crushing it with 3%. There was a dude last month. He just got funded, huge business. He wants us to bring us in and help build a funnel for his new little software. And, well, it's not little, I guess, but they just got funding. And he was bragging to me that he had a 0.79% conversion rate, like not even one. And I was like, do you realize that we call that epic, ridiculous dumpster fire failure in the funnel world? Right? That's terrible, right? Anyway, so I got in there and I was doing the consulting stuff, but as they drove me in, so I flew into Hollywood and they drove me around for a little while throughout all the studios, and there are different shows being filmed at different times. And what he started telling me is he goes, and this is back when Netflix was really the only major streaming platform, but they started creating their own feature films really heavily around that time. And he goes, you know what's funny is all these studios are freaking out right now. I was like, why? And they're driving around, they started explaining to me that the reason is because Netflix changed the cash flow model. They came in and they said, traditionally what happens is Hollywood goes to an actor and they say, hey, actor, we're going to pay you some money up front. You're going to make most of your money on the long tail, though. Royalties, right? That's how traditionally it's always been. Well, Netflix came up and said, you know what? We're going to pay you a lot more up front, but nothing on the back. So it was more security for the actor because they would at least know they're going to get paid because some movies bomb. So they spend all this money and they don't even, in time, they don't even know if they're going to go make all this cash, right? And so he said Netflix has totally changed the cash flow model of the industry and it's making Hollywood on its heels, like because they're losing viewership, they're losing good actors, they're losing out to someone that's not even going to pay them on the long run. Interesting. Right? Changing the cash flow model of an industry is a tool of disruption. I'm going to write a whole book on this. There's a lot of ways you can disrupt a marketplace. A cash flow model shift is a big way that you can make it go on its heels, right? Think about like what you guys are doing is real estate and investing and retirement. You're changing the cash flow model, and because of that, whoa, puts the market on its heels and shakes it in a good way, right? I very frequently have friends and family that will come to me concerned to go, Stephen, I don't know if you should keep doing this capitalist pig thing because I think someone's not going to like that. I'm like, I don't think you understand why I was born. I was born to shake the tree, baby, right? And rock the boat. I'm all about the tools of disruption, right? And I was like, that's really fascinating. And then I started looking further. I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of what Tesla's doing. Tesla, traditional car companies come in and they say, hey, in order to get a car, you're going to pay a chunk up front and you're going to pay quite a bit over the last, over a few years. Just for fun, I'm not a after driving a Tesla, I just like the feeling of a gas car. Anyone else that way? Yeah, right. Cool. I don't think. Yeah, but they're still great. That's not a truck though. Let's just make sure that we're clear on that. That's a driving triangle. If it just looked cooler, I'd be more into it. Looks weird. All right. Anyway, Tesla comes in and says, so I started going through the process to see what it would take to get a Tesla, like a truck or any kind of car. You guys ever done that? Their model is fascinating. It's totally different than this guy's model. You didn't have to go into a dealership. I'm online, and I'm like, you mean I can literally just pay $1,000, maybe, and then I'm just going to pay just monthly a little bit? But where they're really making their money is the fact that the apps and the upgrades is a subscription in the car. You're subscribed to the Tesla app that gives you updates and self-driving. They're basically pushing out things that enable them to be on subscription business. They turn cars into a subscription model. What? And soon, what he keeps saying, and I think they'll do it, is your car is going to pay for itself because you go get a car, it'll drop you off at work, and it will drive people around like Uber, driverless, making you money, paying your car off. Changing the cash flow model. I was like, fascinating. Taylor Swift did the same thing, right? Traditionally with movie theaters, right? Hollywood comes in and says, hey, movie theater, you're going to play our movies. You're barely going to make anything on the ticket. All your money is going to come from concessions, right? That's how theaters have just always done it. Taylor Swift comes in and she goes direct to the theaters and says, how about we just split the ticket, right? That's not what happens. And so of course, thousands of theaters are psyched to go play her stuff. Interesting. You guys hearing that? Changing the cash flow model of a market is one of the fastest ways to disrupt and split it in half. So I'm a big believer in this because markets are not stagnant, right? Every time I look at markets like cells, right? A cell grows and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And then what happens? It splits. It's literally how we grow, right? From a little infant, we have cell splitting. And then eventually it's a spot where we're not able to, it's fighting disease, we just stop growing, right? And now we're just maintenance splitting, right? But markets do the exact same thing. Markets are not stagnant in size. They're either shrinking or they're growing, or they get to a certain size and they split. And I've been really interested in how we can tell if a market is about to cut in two. And one of the biggest signs is the cash flow and the cash flow model. And so what I like to go do is look for a market that is big, fat, rich, and old. I hate red ocean, blue ocean strategy. I think it's dumb. It's the $1 billion move if you can survive it, but it takes statistically 10 years. So if you are thinking of what you're doing, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing the same thing in 10 years. Maybe don't go build your own market. Stay in the red, right? The reds are where the people are. The red's where the money is. All right. This is hard for me to go through this stuff. Because what's fascinating is a lot of us will invent a new offer. We're an innovator. And then we go, just because and by virtue of the fact that I've created a unique thing, I'm going to go build a mall so I can sell it in the mall. It's like, how come we can't just go to the existing mall because it's got the people already, right? If I can't even sell the foot traffic in a red hot market, why would I go through the hassle of building a market? And the first time I ever experienced this was when we were building the funnel market. I'm going to tell you, I went to therapy after that. It is intense. Okay, it is no joke to birth a marketplace. It is an ungodly amount of work and risk. So we have this notion inside the marketing space that I got to go build a blue ocean. No, just go disrupt the red, right? Go to the big fat red oceans that have been around forever. That's where all the money is and all the people already are. And I'm going to be blue in the red. So red ocean, blue ocean, red ocean, blue offer. I'm writing a book on this. I'm so psyched about this. Throws in the face of all my marketing professors. You're all wrong. Okay. So changing the cash flow model and how that model collects cash and where it actually flows is one of the coolest ways to disrupt a red. And you still get to sit on the top of the market without being the one who went through the hassle of building it. So I love this, right? So when does a market split? And this might seem like a little crazy and a little deep on some of this stuff, but I think we're on the verge of something really huge. And Jace, you kind of mentioned as well, the transformation economy. Well, we've all mentioned it, right? There's a transformation economy coming up. There's a LTV focused economy that's coming up. And we're seeing signs of that it's happening right now. That, in my mind, that means a split is about to happen and birth a new market. I grew very fast by sitting on the heels of a growing market, right? And that was a decision that I made because I was like, if I can sit on a market that's growing without being the guy who built it, it will literally grow my brand faster than I could ever swim, right? Far faster than I could ever build my own marketing machine, right? Does this make sense so far? So, in terms of marketing, all marketing you've ever heard of ever works. It really does. If your hook is right and where you're sending it is right, and your offer, like, all marketing tactics you've ever heard of still work. I always laugh when someone, it's the death of the webinar. That person's just trying to say something, right? It's the death of the challenge. It's the death of the, I'm like, these are all viable things. If someone else is making money with it and you're not, who's the variable, right? So it's ridiculous. The death of, that's a classic sales pitch that's based in fear. So in terms of marketing, right, market disruption is a faster form of marketing than market creation. What I mean by that is pick a fight, build a brand, right? The brand should rock the boat. I don't like throwing rocks at a specific company. I don't like throwing rock. I'll do that. I don't throw rocks at a person though. There's an ethical line you can draw in the sand here with this. Do you guys know on Instagram, you ever see that guy with the teeth whitening thing with the blue light? He puts it in his mouth. Remember that guy? Snow teeth whitening. So I got to meet him. And is at a mastermind December 2019. No one knew the scamdemic was about to hit. And we were all sitting there and everyone was like checking their phones because like crap was hitting the fan. And we're like, oh, look at that. China just shut down. Should we all be here? Like no one knew what was going on yet. They're all kind of nervous and stuff. And I remember, so the guy's name who made that teeth whitening thing, his name is Josh Snow. And he gets up and someone says to him, how did you choose teeth? I mean, like it's teeth. And he says, Marley and I we weren't really dating, but we were friends at that point. I don't know. We were there together. We were just talking. And it's over in Florida. And like Florida downtown had shut down and we were still there. We're like, can we get home? Like there was all kinds of crap going on. Anyway, so Josh Snow gets up and goes, why did you choose teeth? And he goes, I just saw that the teeth market, no one had ever done anything fresh in it for a super long time. It's just big, stagnant, old, and I saw that he's like, I look for those markets, that can do that. And I grabbed the mic and I stood up and I go, are you talking about Red Ocean Blue Offer? Because you're the only other guy I've ever heard talk about this. In college, it was Red Ocean, Blue Ocean in all my marketing classes. In our world here, Red Ocean, Blue Ocean. And you get into like further into funnel space, it's Blue Ocean strategy and all this stuff. I'm like, that can't be the only way to go play this game. And he goes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to go into the red and figure out how I can just disrupt it. And I was like, oh, I can kiss you. Your mouth is clean. Anyway. Okay. That's not what happened. But no, but I was like, yeah, validation right there. And he was already worth like 200 million at that time. So market size matters and bigger is better. Funnel size matters and shorter is better. Okay. Last little sidebar on this, because this changed my life also. I'm a huge Kiyosaki fan. He was like the gateway drug for most of you guys in entrepreneurship. He was totally for me. I was like, anyway, I was so poor. I was actually a sprinkler tech. I was digging sprinkler trenches by hand. My boss was too much of a stickler to go buy a trencher, so I really affiliate with the movie Holes. I'm really good at digging. I'm really good. So I would just hand dig these commercial and residential sprinkler lines all day, and I was like consuming Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, I was doing a lot of labor jobs. I was also steel tire for construction for residential pools. I was also a pool cleaner. I worked my first job ever was in a plastics factory, injection molding. I got heat calluses on my hands because I worked a lot of labor jobs. And I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I found out that he was coming to Littleton, Colorado, where I grew up. And it was a radio ad. I didn't realize I was in a funnel. You know, he's like, Robert Kiyosaki is coming to teach you stocks and options at this hotel. And I was like, whoa, it's $200. I was like, oh, that's like 5 days of work. You know,
That's a lot of holes.
it's a lot of holes. So I was like, I'm going to go. And I was really embarrassed to tell my dad. So I go and I go to this 3-day thing I paid $200 for, you know. And the first day, stocks and options just blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome. I've been looking for this kind of like education, you know. And I go back home because I was about to go to college. I was just working all these jobs. And I was like, Dad, I think I'm going to go do this thing, stocks and options. This is incredible. I got to go back to the second day. And my dad was like, he's scamming you. Watch, I'll show you. I'm going to come with you the next day. So he comes with me the next day, and we're sitting in Kiyosaki's classes. He's not there, obviously, but one of his advisors or trainers is or whatever. And we go back home the second day, and my mom was like, so was it a scam? And my dad was like, we spent $30,000 on a coaching. And we bought his stocks and options thing. And I wrote a promissory note to my dad for $15,000. He's like, I'll let you in on this, but you got to pay half of it with the earnings you learned by doing this with me. So we signed a real promissory note for $15,000. I did not pay him back from that, but I did later on with Fuddles. Anyway, so like a couple of years goes by, and I started getting busy in school. I definitely got distracted, but stocks and options was my true legitimate first business attempt. A few years goes by, and he goes, I said, Dad, you still trading the New York Stock Exchange? And he goes, no. I was like, really? We spent hours side by side at computers, paper trading and studying the market strategies and, you know, all that stuff. And I said, why are you not doing New York Stock Exchange anymore? He goes like, dude, I'm doing Forex now. So Forex is the global market, right? New York Stock Exchange, American market. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Why would you go do that? Oh, what's up, man? How you doing? How's it going, dude? And he goes, well, did you know the New York, this is so key. This changed my freaking life. This changed how I market. This changed everything. All right. This realized how you can get rich a lot faster. He goes, do you know the New York Stock Exchange trades like $169 billion a day? And I was like, yeah, with a capital B. That's awesome, Dad. Right? He goes, dude, Forex, 5.3 trillion a day. And then he said this line. He goes, the market is so big, I can afford to be less skilled, but still take home more. I was like, what? He goes, think about this. Because the pie is so much bigger, I can afford to be less skilled and take home more. He said, in a smaller market, I actually have to have more skill in the market. Right? I have to have more skill to take home the same amount than if I just go over to and take the same amount of skill in a larger field, and there's so much money in it, I can afford to be less skilled. I take home more. What? Market size matters. Screw blue ocean. I hate blue ocean. This only reinforced this thought that's been on my mind forever. I want a big, fat, gigantic red ocean that has been around for a long time. There's a billion companies in it, and competition is creating my future customer for me. Yeah? Infinite lead flow from this one strategy. When I went out and I created that hook for network marketing, I was telling you guys, let me close that loop and then we'll finally get to this thing. Okay. I went out and I left my job, and people are like, why are you going to network marketing? And I said, check out my hook. The 3-step system I'm using to auto-recruit a downline of big producers without friends and family even knowing I'm in this. I never changed the headline once. We pressed autopilot on ads. It made $2 million over the next 2 years without me looking at it. Why? Who does that attract? Who does that attract? Network marketers who they're already in it. And they're already frustrated. And they don't want to talk to friends and family anymore. So who was I not dealing with? People are like, is it pyramid scheme? Right? I'm not dealing with them.
No pies in the face.
Right? Yeah, no pies in the face. Right? None of that stuff. So you guys, are you starting to get it? It's like, leads is not hard if you're positioned correctly. Leads is very hard if you're fishing from a tiny little baby blue ocean, because that's what we're taught to go do. There's no money in it. You got to be more skilled. Leads is really easy if you're positioned in the center of a gigantic big fat red ocean. Leads is really easy because the pie is so big. It's already big. You didn't build the market. And in this way, I actually get to go sit off the back of what work category kings have already done. You don't have to build a market in order to actually have consistent lead flow. In fact, I actually think it's easier. And this is why we can disrupt marketplaces so much faster and get infinite leads like this. Capiche? Capiche. Dealio. All right. Well, that was a bit of a rant, but just streaming, baby. All right, here we go. All right. So let's get back to what I was talking about this, though, that changing the cash flow model of a market is one of the best ways to split a market in two. And one of the things we start to do is we look at markets that are big and bulging and they look like there's problems happening. So some of the problems I've been seeing inside of the book, event, and course space has been themes that people are saying, right? I can cross markets, right? So if I look at the events market, there's a big shift happening in the events market right now, right? Was it the TNC just announced their closing? Like one of the largest industry events. They're done. Funnel Hacking Live, they're done. Grant Cardone just announced the closing of 10X. Interesting. This is their last one. So that's a market. Those are 3 category kings. What are they seeing? Why are they doing that? And what we've started seeing is that people are saying, I want a smaller event with more help. I don't want to be in the sea of heads events anymore where I'm kind of a floating number. All right, you guys ever been in one of those events before? They're amazing. They're electric. It's awesome. And you get great stuff, but you can't go very deep. And it's actually why every speech I've ever sent to Russell to get on his stage, he's always rejected it and pushed it back, saying it's still too deep for the audience. They're actual speeches that I originally have written. I've been on it 5 times now. They're very different, much more meaty thing. But I can't do it. It's just too many people, too many backgrounds, right? No one's in the same education spot. And so the smaller events, I think, are what's coming up. That's what's going to split. You feeling that? All right. The book market. I went and I started looking more about the book market. Actually, I won't let the cat out of the bag on this one. But every person I talk to, I know book writing is on my horizon. I got a lot of books in me that's going to come out. But everyone I talk to is like, you don't write a book to make money. Screw that. I'm a capitalist, man. How can I make money writing a book? That's ridiculous, right? So the book market is also tired and old. We have clients and people who they're book publishers and they're cranking out 90 books a month with clients, right? Just like clockwork. But how many copies does a book usually sell? I have a number on that. I looked it up. It's crazy. From Amazon. It's nuts. Okay. What's that? I'll tell you in a second. That's called an open loop. All right. Courses. What the info product model is having some force changes right now. It's not going to go anywhere, right? But people are now like, oh, just ask ChatGPT. And that's what, have you guys felt that lately? Right? People are valuing information different. It's not going to leave. I think it's so funny people say that. This place is screwed. I saw a post literally last night from someone, the biz ops space is leaving. I was like, do people need business opportunities? You dummy. No, biz ops isn't going, but it's changing, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to leave. All right. So, all right, this has been on my mind like the last 6 months. And watching markets shift, right? A marketer is watching markets, right? These big, how they shift and move. And yes, it's a lead gen role, but on a broader scheme, you're looking at the shift and shape of the market, right? I think of them like oceans. There's a current, there's a trend, right? This line right here, that current right there is called TikTok. Someone has a huge TikTok. There's a really big one called email list. There's a really big distribution channel right here called YouTube, right? And I don't have to build any of those channels because it's a red ocean and someone else already did, so I can take advantage of the channels already made. So these are 3 ripe markets that are all intersecting right now that I think are ripe for disruption. Okay. I would not to get a little woo-woo, but I think we all have, so we've crossed that barrier. All right. Big believer in God. I'm a Christian. I was walking by the stage and I was standing right here and I suddenly had I think it's okay to say this. I think personal revelation should be kept for the person, but I think this hit and I was like, it was like a bolt. Your stage was never meant just for you. Oh, okay. Meaning this stage, right? And I told you how hard it was to build this place. And remember we're talking about cash flow model, how we shift the cash flow model, and we're thinking of the stage. We're thinking of how markets shift. I believe that low ticket, high immersion experiential learning is the horizon. It was so cool to watch you all validate that yesterday. I was like, yep. We all can see it. It's the tsunami that's coming. It's just a shift. It'll take a lot of companies out, but it'll also change. What's that book he talks about? Anti-Fragile, right? Change. People get rich, people get poor, right? How are you going to ride the wave? So I've been thinking, how could I shift the cash flow model of events and the book market and the info product market? We good now?
Yeah.
I know I get a little thick, so that's usually when I do some kind of like, something weird. All right. Okay. So now you know my lens and how I look at this stuff. If you look at the event market, right? So in 2019, I did this event that had 650 people at it, and I went last night and I actually found the cost breakdown of that event. You want to see it? After the event, we went and we figured this out. So I found this in my Google Drive last night, and I was like, oh, I should show this. So like it's event guides, 13 grand, notebooks, 12 grand, order forms, 3 grand, hotel rooms, whoa. I hate room blocks. I didn't even do room blocks on this one. AV, by the way, 52 grand. That's pretty standard. This is pre-COVID numbers, by the way. Everything's a lot more expensive now. And part of that is because hotels had less business, so they needed to still keep profit. So they cranked. And you guys do events right now? Or go rent? You feeling that? Whew! I could not do the same size event for 233 grand anymore. There's no way. The insurance policies they make you take out in case someone trips and sues the venue. There's all kinds. It's a nightmare. And that was part of why I had to take a step back and go, if this is going to be part of my future, I got to control my own space, and go with the smaller type of event. All right. As far as the book market goes, I looked it up. 250 copies. Cited across tons of places. And then I asked a few of my book publishing buddies as well. They validated that. Most books don't sell more than 250 copies, maybe 1,000. Maybe 1,000 copies over the lifetime. 1,000. What? Have you ever written a book before? Freaking sucks sometimes, right? It's hard, but it's super fun at the same time. I actually have not expected to enjoy it so much, but it's hard, right? It's a lot of work to sell only 1,000 people maybe. Right? Us in the funnel market can have a huge problem with that. But what's funny is books still remain the strongest lead gen for high ticket sales. Have you noticed that too? You guys know Dana Derricks?
Yeah.
Dana Derricks? Go guy, amazing. He's an amazing guy. Hey, you got a goat on your shirt there. So I reached out to him and said, how come you write so many books? It's like 2020. And he's like, the craziest thing happens when you write books, man. It's like the coolest business card ever. What happens is, for some reason, books are the way that you reach really rich people, right? That whole notion where a CEO reads a book a week, right? It's really true in some cases. And so what happens is when you put a book out, for some reason, it's like the funnel for the super rich person who has no time but a lot of money. And he goes, every time I write a book, I get some guy who's just sitting in the back consuming his book a week and going, cool concept. Wonder what his consulting fee is. Hey, could you consult? Yeah, it's 50 grand. Deal. Bam. Right. That's it. That's the funnel. And for some reason, books really reach you out to this next tier of people. So, and we are also seeing as well that books, by the way, the book funnel, one of the best funnels to book a call. Right. You get the book from the person and then you get calls as well. And as we've been kind of surveying Titans, y'all want to write books. Right? How many of you guys want to write a book or you know it's in your future? Me too. I know it's in my future. And I think part of the force of that comes actually back to also the course market, which is that a lot of us realize that education needs to be not just given up to the government anymore, right? Like the best education obviously comes from us. And so we're all teachers. We need to teach. I started seeing also that the course market, the e-learning market is not going anywhere. What is it? It's projected to hit $848 billion by 2030, and it's currently around, I saw the number earlier. I think it was like around the 200 billion range. Anyway, it's expected to like at least double by 2030. So I'm like looking at these market forces because I'm a marketer. So this is the idea. I spent an hour teeing it up. You ready? This is the stage book. Capitalist Pig is becoming a media business. Okay, we're a media company. We're a media company like Rich Dad, right? You know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out, and then he created an umbrella company for publishing, and he co-authored a book with his tax person, right? He co-authored a book with his business buying person. He co-authored a book on gold, on silver, on, right? He just started teeing up the people who don't have the platform, but who have the knowledge to share. Yeah? The vision for Capitalist Pig Publishing is that under that umbrella, we're going to become our own publishing company. And all of my books are going to come out under that, but it's also we're going to co-author the best forms of education to push out. That's the vision. Underneath there, we have a newsletter business. We have a e-com and swag, which the guy that helped blow up Lion's Not Sheep already built out the whole back end for us to go help grow that. We have a TV show. We have right, so it's beginning. I have been advised by so many people, don't go down the capitalist pig route, but every freaking time I try to do anything else, it's like doors close. You ever felt that in your life? What is going on? In fact, what I'm doing here for myself is exactly what I'm having clients do, and their stuff blows up. I've never felt more of a spiritual no in the last 2 years. Every time I move back to this capitalist pig thing, like, hey, let's go teach people that problem solving for profit is actually a good thing. Money's not evil. Let's go take care of ourselves and not be socialists. Every time I move in that direction, stuff just falls on our plate. Thank you. Stuff just falls in our path. People, the right things, and so that's where we're going. We have Titans as our mastermind. We have a program called School of Money, which is our $300 per month subscription, right? It's kind of it. And then over here, we have another program called Rare Edge, which is our middle tier one. And that's it. And we've literally killed everything else except those three things. And everything's being rolled into standing up a media empire that is its own form of education, cannoning out. Our vision is to be the next Kiyosaki. He's getting old, right? And we want to keep that torch going. So here's the actual idea. And this is what we want to do. And we'll offer it to you guys as well as an option. Is that all right? Okay. So John Parks, I approached him with this idea about a year ago. I said, John, check it out. You're real smart. You spend $150 million in Facebook ads, right? Profitably, which is, I guess any of us could spend that much, but he did it profitably, right? You're really smart. What if you got on the stage and you taught for 2 or 3 days, and then we turn that into a book, into a course, we co-author the thing under the Capitalist Pig Publishing business, and it becomes a front end for School of Money. Okay, so here's what it is, right? We film smart people who don't have a platform, right? They run a 2 to 3 day workshop in our studio at cost instead of charging all this money for it, which is what we used to do to rent this place, at cost. I love calling us Starly. Marley says it's a stripper name, so.
That's what makes it good.
Marley and I, or Stacks, as we've also been named. You got the tattoo right here, right? Yeah, the Stacks tattoo. You're awesome, man. We do different speeches as part of that to bookend it and the actual material itself. The workshop is used to write a real book. I hate the book for someone transcribes something and then it's like 15 billion point fonts and so, you know what I'm talking about? Hate that. I'm talking real books that go through a lot of research. Right, so we use that to create a real book. We create an in-home course. We film B-roll and testimonials from the workshop that we'll use in the book funnel. So we're using the workshop to collect as many assets as possible for the future funnel and being able to sell it. Right, the tickets and the pitch pay for the cost of the event, the future book, the funnel, and the course. I figured out a way to make it so that someone like John doesn't have to pay like almost anything to come do a co-authored thing with us, by virtue of the fact that we still sell tickets, right? And then we do a pitch during the thing as well, right? And so that pays for not just the cost, but the future production of the book as well. I'm a pretty mean funnel builder, so then I go build a book funnel, right? Afterwards, the funnel, the course, the book and the course is co-authored under the Capitalist Pig Publishing, and then we build the book funnel like this. Boop. So the thought, and I laid this out to John, and we actually have 10 authors right now who said yes to this. So, across the rest of it, right? 10-ish?
At 11 now.
11? Deal. Yep. Yes, we were talking about it. Yep. All right. So, I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, it sucks that an author doesn't get paid anything. That's terrible. That's dumb. We're capitalists. Let's solve the problem. So, and 250 copies? Oh my gosh. Like, They must not know ads or content or any of the stuff that we do, right? So it was like, this makes it really, really potent. So on the order page, I was like, John, what if it was this? On the order page, you know that thing that I do where it's like $47 or $47 plus a call? We do that with the trial of our $300 a month subscription. So do you want the book for $10? Or, and we just stack the value like ridiculous. Do you also want the book for $10 plus a 30-day trial to our $300 subscription? Plus a phone call with the team, so it's a good phone call. Plus you get the shirt, plus these extra bonus courses. And we just make it so it's like you kind of feel dumb for not choosing it, right? Little bump for the audio and a little extra package, maybe a workbook or something like that. On the next page, we sell the replays of the workshop as a course. The best courses come with a live audience too. It's better than sitting in front of a camera, right? So that's why we film all our courses in here now, usually by doing an event. And by the way, you get a priority call, right? Then on the next page, maybe we sell an hour of John's time, right? And he's already said, yep, sounds good. Do you want a one-on-one with John? As he's going to go through and audit your ad account. How amazing is that, right? Then on the thank you page, it's the same thing. Login, community. Hey, you should book your call. So it's call. And then over here is the affiliate link as well, so that we can have other affiliates come in and start pushing this. Now, what I did is I said, check it out. What if our normal rate is 30% recurring commission on the 300? It's a pretty epic affiliate rate. I was like, John, I'm going to make you an offer on this. I'll give you a 40% recurring commission from anybody who gets a trial with this funnel. So now go sell 1,000 copies and do the math. $118,000 a month. That's a wealthy author. That lets the author go out and do another one. And the requirement to keep his 40% is that he comes and does a training every month inside School of Money. So School of Money is no longer just a Steve Marley thing. We bring in these experts and they're continuing to teach. And School of Money, how many of you guys learned like a ton about money in school? Exactly. So this is not meant to be just marketing. There's going to be a marketing silo inside School of Money, all right? And it's under the Capitalist Pig banner. Hey nation, here's how you stay entrepreneurial, right? Go to marketing school, go to investment school, go to retirement school, all right? Go to real estate school, go to here's how to be healthy without big pharma school. Go to, right? And that's the vision for it, is that we continue to do this with people and they become their own front end. And now they don't have to be. The beauty that I love about this is that the more and more I talk to John, I really, John doesn't want to build a program. You know what I mean? Certain people, they don't want to build a program. And so if someone comes in and they buy our $10,000 thing, he gets just a little cut of that. But he's not the only guy. He doesn't have to build the $297 a month. You guys seen that? He doesn't have to go and, right, so John helps fill the room. The co-author always helps fill the room. We have podcasts, we have rare things, we have these different, we've put out 600 podcast episodes now over my life, which is nuts. So we help fill the room, he helps fill the room. It's not just on either one of us, so he helps with that. John gets paid to write/sell the book because it was a paid workshop, not super high ticket, right? But we're thinking like a $500 ticket for people to come in. That's enough to like make it what we need. We can fit about 60 people in this room times $500. That's great. That lets us liquidate the future cost of producing a book and a funnel and launching it. Right, John launches with a co-authored real book of a very high standard, so none of this fake book junk, especially under the Capitalist Pig banner. It's not a marketing gimmick. This is meant to be education. John doesn't have to build or manage a program. John doesn't have to pay for an event, which, by the way, costs a butt ton of money. John's book funnel pays for its own ads. And so our agreement is that anything up here just gets dumped back into the front for ads. So it's a self-priming pump for ads. And I was like, John, all I want you to go do is I want you to go get 1,000 people to buy the book. All right. And then after that, 2,000 and 3,000. And he's highly incentivized to go do that. All right. And he's only getting commission on the affiliate commission on those who actually start the program from this funnel. Right. And then John's book funnel fills the phones. And so he still can get a little kickback on anything that we sell off the back of it, but now he doesn't have to go. A lot of people I've learned don't want to actually be an entrepreneur. They just want to be smart and teach. And that's great. That's totally fine. Right. And a lot of people do. So we've already done this. We did this with one person last month with Sean Malone. The DM workshop is this model. We just didn't let the cat out of the bag. So the DM Mastery workshop that we did, the only difference with that one is they already have a software, and so we just became an affiliate on theirs, right? Because he already has a subscription. So people who don't, we just interchange that piece of it. So he's writing the book right now. Sean is. Talked to him yesterday, or 2 days ago. He's writing the book right now that's from the workshop, and that's going to become a front end. Hey, do you want a free trial of Flowchat? Hey, do you want the workshop replays as a course right there? Hey, do you want to get on a call? They have their own 10K program. So in this, we're taking the position that John is in this one. We're the affiliate. But for the most part, we're trying to make it so that we push people through our piece here. So the goal is to create that brand where we can co-author and create a standard of education called Capitalist Pig that's like, let's teach money making and entrepreneurial and problem solving mindset and actively toe up against dirty, filthy, disgusting dumpster fire socialism. That's the next. Yeah, cool. I wanted to bring this up because as Titans, you guys have the opportunity, if you want to run events from here. And we charge around 10 grand a day. It depends what you guys need. But that's all inclusive. Everything. We edit it. We do everything. AV team, top to bottom. And it's freaky, stupid cheap compared to what you go pay out there. And then, or the other option, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to go do this. But
I'm just going to validate that. We've done tons of events. I mean, $10,000 a day is
stupid.
Nuts or insanity. The fact that you can go live and virtual all in the same place too, it's 3 times minimum.
Yeah.
To do that outside of here.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah.
Ticket sales in the room.
Yeah.
Could easily pay for that on top of the ticket sales hybrid.
One of the strategies we'll do is we'll charge a little extra for the room in here for those seats, and it ends up liquidating all the costs of the event, and then everything you sell and pitch is pure profit to the virtual audience. It's amazing. Yeah. Thanks. So this has been heavy on my mind a lot, and I can't. Every time I try to leave it, I kind of feel like God's like, get over there, kid. I'm like, sorry, I'm listening. So the co-authored, published under the Capitalist Pig Publishing Company is we're around 5K a day is about our cost. So then you're doing it at cost. And so John was also like, I don't even know if I want to pay that, man. I was like, oh, you're the first to are you kidding me? Right? And he hasn't ever foot that bill before. So I'm not throwing him under the bus with that. But then I was like, well, let's just do it so you do, just whole. I can't tell you the number of people who have like said, I'm doing an event on these dates. And then like 2 days before they'll move the event. And I'm like, for us, that's part of our cash. That hurts, right? So I was like, John, let's just do this. Let's go out and I usually do like a 50% down, 50% post pitch at the event just to hold the day. I just want some skin in the game. But yeah, where I really started getting this idea was writing a book with Russell, right? I did 5 years of research on this dude's life, finding that really there's no such thing as internet marketing. There isn't. There's marketing and there's the internet. The internet's a big distribution channel, right? We get in trouble when we think they're the same thing or they were even related, really. It's easier to master marketing when you remove the distraction of the internet. Like, what is marketing if you don't think about the internet? And so it's been really cool to go down that guy's life. And then Russell was like, do you want to co-author a book on this? Well, if you don't know, the way that we used to do it for all of his Secrets trilogy, right, which I was a concept editor on all those books, wrote the foreword on one of them, and wrote a chapter in Expert Secrets. I wrote a lot in those. And the way we would test it is every single time we would finish the book, the book wasn't written, we just had an outline. We would throw an event. And every speech was meant to be its own chapter. And the reason we did it is so we could test the material in front of a live audience. They didn't know we were doing that. Sometimes they did. By the end of Traffic Secrets, they did. But most of the time, they had no idea. What we were really doing was testing his book before we wrote it. And every single chapter, now we had live feedback. Does that make sense? That's why I'm asking that stuff. Does that make sense? I've gotten better and better explaining Red Ocean Blue Offer because I'm writing a future book on that. And I'm testing on you guys like crazy, right? So now I go back and I'm like, oh, this was a better way to say that. So it's been really easy to write the dramatic demonstration book because I've taught it on stage. And I can now look at my slides, and my slides are my outline. I always got stuck on the outline. So that's really what it is too, is the ability to test the material prior to. And it's funny because even doing the workshop with Russell, he came in, he spoke, he came on 2 of the days and gave a speech, and then he left. And so it's like 90% my material, but it's still a co-authored book. I'm not a dummy. I know that's gonna grow that's awesome. First book out, co-authored. Come on, that's awesome, right? But it's still a co-authored thing. He can just come in. So that's kind of what we're thinking about is, can we test your material on a live audience on a live stage before it's written? Post event, I was like, I thought this was cool, and I told you I was gonna write it, But as I sit down to start writing it, that was a freaking complicated concept. I should not put that in the book. There are probably half of the workshop we did is not going in the book. It's too deep. So it's a very forgiving book writing model. And then we're pretty good at funnels and pretty good at launching stuff. So now I'm like, if we only sell 1,000 copies of that book, that is utter failure, right? Cool?
I love it. So good.
Yeah? Yeah. There's a mic over here if you don't mind.
I can't make that catch. Something I want to acknowledge that, because I don't think it should ever be forgotten, the way you used to build those epic funnels.
On Saturdays.
The 3 hour, the 5 hour, the 7.5 hour. I think 7.5 hours was the record, right?
16, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
was
you were
crazy.
teaching not just about the funnel building, but you were reinforcing the concepts from Expert Secrets and from the books and then your own stuff, your own flavor of everything. All of this happening at the same time. I was on some of the epic funnel builds. That's how I really learned, really cut my teeth on building funnels, was just working alongside you.
It's awesome. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, so just wanted to say that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, the vision here is I've learned more and more that I want to be the platform creator, not for others to play on, rather than thinking in terms of one-off product stuff. So, yeah. And then I was like, what's my platform? What's my platform? And I was like standing on my stage, like I'm on the platform. It's like, And then we could change the cash flow model by dropping the cost of the events, encourage people to come on in. And I think, and then we take care of a huge portion of the back. Yeah. Cool. Well, any other questions about this, or is this, it's landing? Yeah. Sweet. Okay.
Do we give Marley the credit card?
Yeah. I will take your money.
Come back here. Robbie already has my credit card. Just charge it to the account.
I got it. We got it in fine.
I'll tell you the one thing that has been a little surprising to certain people who've done this with in the past. In fact, we might have gotten our second person this last weekend. He was doing his, and we told him the idea after he'd done his event. He's been texting us a lot. He's like, I had no idea. And his same thing was, he's like, I don't want to go build another program. I was like, cool, just use it as a front end for hours and be a freaky high affiliate. Just come in and teach once a month, And we're good at info and programs and courses and all that stuff. But the thing that's been a little more challenging for people than they realize is filling the workshop. So what we do is we'll go out and we'll sell tickets, as many as possible. You really need a solid month or two and all you're doing is promoting the event. Events take longer to fill than you think. So you do a solid 1 or 2 month promotion, where people can be filling. It's a lot easier when you're starting to sell a room like this, but I've actually found that it films better than a sea of heads. You get more feedback too, there's more interaction and engagement. So it's better for the book filming. But you really, 6 weeks is kind of the classic. What has happened a few times is I would rather have a full room than a small, because the size of the room, I'd rather have a full room than a small room with just like people actually paid for ticket. So, but that's kind of the thought process behind it.